domesticated. Yeah. I'm domesticated, controlled to my dad, compared to my dad. He's domesticated compared to his dad. I mean, we really are becoming weaklings.
Yeah, well, that's been part of the strategy, and it's interesting to me because over the years I've had a chance to study some of the more esoteric literature by these people. You know, the deep thinkers, the scholars on the collectivist side. You don't run into their names often, but they've written books. They've given speeches and lectures, and some of them are in academia, and they waxed eloquent about how wonderful it would be to domesticate the human race and breed out of them all of these aggressive instincts, as they say, you know, and to convert the human animal into a productive and kind and gentle thing. And of course, they say if they have to kill a few million people along the way to do that, and torture a few, well, it's okay. The end justifies the means. You see. It's really amazing how they justify these things.
Well, the truth is, when you really meet these liberal collectivists, and they're not really liberal, but that's what they usually are hiding under that mantle.
No, they're
it's like, yes, we're going to have to kill a lot, and you see them kind of going, you know, just getting off on it. And the truth is, they're killer apes in their own view. Yeah. They're just high-functioning psychos who act like they're these egalitarians, and really, they're just a bunch of lunatic control freaks that need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think they're certainly true. A lot of them just like that. They may look very meek and mild and be wearing bifocals, but there is a killer instinct there, yeah.
And we've got to reharness our killer instinct for defense. That's the problem. I found really intelligent, overconfident, nice, friendly people are gregarious, good-natured, don't want to get involved. We kind of just sit back, and then there's these little greedy, weak people who want to get in the power and then hate those of us that are strong. And I found that to be the secret to eugenics, is they sell it to the strong as, oh, we're just going to make the strong and the healthy have more of the world, which is bad enough because it always leads to evil. But in truth, they're actually targeting the strong.
Well, yeah, they're targeting... the strength or the weakness of an individual has nothing to do with their plan, even though they say that it does. But what their plan is focused on is the ideological orientation of the individual, strong or weak. If they support their collectivist agenda, then they are to be defended and preserved. If they're opposed to the collectivist agenda, then they're alleged to be defective and must be eliminated. So strength or weakness is measured primarily in terms of the degree to which individuals support their agenda.
But like an animal farm, when the big stallion workhorse breaks his back trying to make more money for the pigs, then they load him up and sell him to the glue factory. So they also, at the same time, do hate the beautiful, the smart, the intelligent. Most of these eugenicists are like goblin-like creatures who want to pull everything down.
Yeah, they get to be very analytical about society. They look at the human being as a machine, something to be controlled and directed. And, you know, in fact, my mind just went back to that famous line attributed to the Rothschilds. I had it in my book, but it said the rulers of society, and they were referring indirectly to the Rothschilds in this sense. They look at man as a machine and woman as a toy. I thought, boy, yeah, that's quite an egalitarian view of the world, I would say. But they certainly do look at men as machines to be controlled and put to work, and if they don't work well, then destroy them.
Yeah, programmed. Well, I want to take a few calls for J. Edward Griffin, Ronnie, Rob, Adam, Greg, and Chris, and that'll be it. We can take those 5. Sorry to the others. But I wanted just to get your view on the carbon tax. This is wildly unpopular. I think it's going to blow up in their face, not letting anybody read the bill, 300 pages of it. Now we've got it, and they're trying to pass the Senate. Federal home inspectors and selective carbon taxes on who they want. It's like Obama selectively deciding who can keep their dealerships. I mean, we're really seeing a takeover, and the gas, the honeymoon, is running out quick on this guy.
Well, yes, and I certainly agree that people are fed up with all of it, and this just is like another straw on the camel's back, but I'm not so sure about whether they're going to not be allowed to continue. Because, you know, these people really don't care what the American people think right now. They've come to the point where they just sort of go ahead anyway. I mean, this whole issue of global warming is a perfect example. I would say that about a year or a year and a half ago, if you were to poll the average citizen out there, the overwhelming majority of them would say, oh, yes, we've got global warming. Yes, it's something that's very serious, and we've got to do something about it. But now, with all of the scientific evidence that has come out and all of the obvious fact of global cooling that's been taking place for about a year now, I think if you poll the average person, they'd say, yeah, there's a bunch of bunk. There's no global warming going on at all, and these guys just want to use that as an excuse to have a tax and have more power. That's the drift of the thinking, but does it stop? Congress? Does it stop the Senate?
And that's the key.
The president? And no, it doesn't even slow them down. They don't give a damn what the American people think. They've got their own agenda, and they have the power to execute it. So that should be a wake-up call for people.
Well, but that's the key, is that they do just ignore us on every front. And it's clear they've made the decision to go ahead and push us into revolution. That's what their paramilitary Northcom's ready for. They've told the police, get ready, the vets, the gun owners are going to attack you. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling process to further destroy the country. I'm not saying they're going to go with that, but if they can goad us into physical conflict, all the better for them. It's just another form of problem, reaction, solution. Your comments on that?
Well, yes, I think that they have anticipated that long ago, that inevitably it would come to an uprising, and so they started to prepare for it. And I think they came to the point about maybe a year and a half ago, where they think that the sooner the better. Let's get on with it. Let's close the gate. Let's have a good excuse for bringing about martial law. Let's goad people into the streets. Let's get them, wild-eyed, full of revolt. People don't understand the difference between a revolt and a revolution. Revolts never succeed. Revolutions sometimes succeed. And the difference between the two is that revolutions have leadership. They're usually conducted by governmental units within a governmental entity.
They have manifestos. They have creeds.
They have
it's an idea.
Training, funding, communications, a strategy. They have everything. Whereas, just plain revolt is where people throw up their hands and say, I'm sick and tired. I'm not going to put up with it anymore, and they grab their musket and go out in the street. Well, they're easily mowed down. I mean, the American Revolution was not a revolt. It was a revolution. It was fought by the continental governments. The colonies had their militia, they had their training, their leaders, their ammunition, they had strategy, funding, they had all of that.
And they had a code, and they had a manifesto.
Yes, but they had leadership. Their leaders in the colonial representative governments declared on their behalf, and so forth. Now, you can argue with some of that, but the point is that it was organized. Today,
and that also lended legitimacy.
Yes. Today, these revolts that people are urging on the American people are just suicidal. It just makes me sick to see it.
Well, I actually think a revolt's going to chew up a lot of military and police, but the globalists don't care. That will then make the government the victim, and then the real oppression comes in.
Yes.
And that's why I always see these federal operatives trying to hype it, but they never get in trouble. Folks, if you're not a federal operative and you call for violence, they come after you. But they have people out there always calling for violence and saying, why doesn't Alex call for violence? He's a coward. Those are feds, folks. Guaranteed. They want to prematurely have us launch our revolution. We need to let the enemy's abuses continue to pile up while we continue to peacefully wake up the people until the government itself, many people in it, don't want to go along with it. And we're already starting to see that, G. Edward.
I'm glad to hear that. I was not aware of that, but it's good news.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and take a call. Ronnie in Texas, you're on the air with G. Edward Griffin, author of Creature from Jekyll Island. Go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen. About A Creature from Jekyll Island, I've just given copies to the new mayor, Leffingwell. He's sharing it with Mike Martinez, and my sisters, other friends at the farmer's market and stuff. Your copies of your book. Yeah. It's so phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
And I've yet to thank. Oh, I'm trying to thank you. I'm so honored to hear your voice, and you can hear me. I've yet to get feedback, but I have in effect been banned from the city council. I'm sure you have experience with that, Mr. Jones. But OBGYN Dr. Ron Paul Revolution of Love for Liberty in Our Sacred Constitution through the campaignforliberty.com just keeps on keeping on. I had to throw that in there. But about what you were saying earlier, elitism is at the core of all of this, bigotry and elitism. And so eugenics is fundamentally evil, and it's one of our main problems in defeating eugenics is the fact that there is some truth in what they say about human overpopulation. I mean, the population of humans on Earth has more than doubled in my lifetime. And thus it is a real challenge for survival in the future. But